To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, thank you. So we only have two items of business today. The first is the personnel list. Can we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the personnel list.
I'm going to have a second.
Second.
Any questions or thoughts on that? Seeing none. Chaz, how do you vote?
Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, yeah, my computer's in.
There we go. Aye.
All right, thank you. Jamie?
Yes.
Shelley? Karen, yes.
Seven yes.
Sarah, yes.
Melissa, yes.
I have a call.
All right, fantastic. Then the second order of business is a planning session. I wanted to have everybody come together. We know we have a lot going on in the next year. We also know that the sooner we get on top of it, the better off we will be. I am fully aware that we have 3 people on this board who will not be continuing with us, and I am terribly sad about that, but I'm really happy for all of you. For sure. I'm not gonna do my little thank you speech yet because you're not off the hook. But
More to go. Two more.
2 more meetings?
yeah, the 23rd and the 9th, you get the day before.
That's so crazy.
It is so crazy. We'll have to do salad for you. But we do have a lot going on. Chris has already started working on some timelines for the upcoming year, hoping to coordinate what we're doing with what the administration is doing, what the leadership team is doing, and so I appreciate that very much. But I also know that we have other board things that really need to be focused on, and I was hoping we could have a conversation about everybody's ideas on what those are and ideas on what you see those looking like for the next year. So really, this is an open forum to have that conversation. So anybody who wants to get started, please do.
And mine is less about next year. I think some planning could be happening in the next month to plan for if the withdrawal for either Walpole or Lanyon goes through. Because there's a number of legal issues that still need to be figured out. I believe it's true, but we still have to ask a lawyer, get a definitive answer that no matter what town leaves, they're still a part of the cooperative and they will still be on the cooperative board. And they will still be a voting member of the cooperative for all things. Including negotiations with the withdrawn town on. So there has to be consideration about recusal and what that means and how all that works. It's also my understanding that because the budget is the July 1st budget that the towns withdrew, they would not vote on that budget. However, if we would need to make changes to the articles of agreement. And it's my current understanding that the withdrawing towns could vote on the changes to the articles of agreement because they are currently members of the co-op. I don't know if you date those to put them in effect July 1st, 2027, if that gets rid of that. But that asks some lawyers some very specific questions about that.
Right, because they're not part of the co-op, they'd still be part of the SAU.
They're still part of the co-op until July 1st, 2027.
Next year, yes,
Right.
for a year later.
Right, but we still have to make changes we have to make changes to the articles of agreement, because there's nothing in there that says, how do you refigure all method 1 through 6?
Yeah,
If a town leaves, there's nothing in there.
right.
I wish I'd pushed harder for that motion, but,
Kevin, I think you're correct. Until that date. we'd be participating.
So Misty we did ask the attorney some of those specific questions, and there was a response that she did share with the two of you. I don't think I can get it, I'm like,
But that wasn't the question she asked. She didn't ask the right question because that wasn't the answer to this question.
well, some of your first questions, I believe she did, you had a
On
series of
negotiation.
questions there.
Well,
About participation, how the voting and,
I think we need to ask some very specific
Can you write
questions, because
them?
lawyers.
if you wanted to
may
send those
answer
through, I
questions,
can.
Very specific
Yeah.
questions. And
So
we-
if you would like to word in the way that you want it
Right.
conveyed
Mhm.
and send it to me, I
Well,
can
I mean,
get that rolling.
it's probably a list of scenarios
Mhm.
and say, can the withdrawing town vote in this case? And there's currently nothing in the law that says the withdrawing town is not part of the co-op and can't vote as part of the co-op until they are not part of the
Correct,
co-op,
until it becomes,
their own, yeah. till they-
that's right, a year later.
A year later,
Mhm.
right? So,
So they will in effect be making decisions for a
That's right.
cooperative that they're no longer part of.
Correct.
and, I think we need to figure that out. Since the change to the arbors agreement takes a 2/3 vote. How. You know,
Does it go on there? Do they vote on school district issues for 2027, 2028?
well, I think we'd have to ask a specific question. I think if we just said we're making changes to the arbors agreement. Yes, they would probably vote. If the specific question is. If we dated those changes to be July 1st, 2027. Would they be able to vote then? Because they can't vote on the budget. Even though they're still a member of the cooperative, they can't vote on the 2027-2028 budget. So, because it starts July 1st,
Sure.
right? So,
Right.
yeah, that's my major concern for that one. My other concern is. We haven't even considered how do we set up the SAU board? How does that get created?
So, my name,
You have the experience with this.
well, no, I don't have any experience with withdrawals.
Well, no, but with a district, all of us have only been part of
Oh, one
a
district.
single
I
district
see the
SAU.
district.
I would think that we'll need special elections for those,
Yeah, I would.
those positions.
Would that get formed at the same time as the school boards in the withdrawing towns if they should withdraw?
I think it's a question for
It would
the,
be July 1, and it would be a vote on a ballot next month.
another thing that needs to be done sooner, because they're gonna have a budget due to start July 1st, 2027.
For them to form, yes, but for the SAU board, probably not, because we already exist in the format that oversees that length of time.
So this current board would form the SAU budget and the cooperative budget.
Correct.
I think that's
We're in place until June 30. Here's my concern. Valid questions, all of them, and I've not been a part of all of your conversations. I don't wanna spend a dime until we know that everything passes.
Yeah, I don't think
None of
anybody's
these
asking
questions
for-
were asked already when Charlestown looked into it.
We didn't get that far. I think everything was after the DOE. And everything, I think everything was just put on hold, was it?
Okay.
Yeah,
Was it
everything was
not
put on
until
hold.
after
We didn't
the
talk
vote?
about any
So
of it
they were
until after
waiting
the
until
board.
after the vote.
Until after the
I think
votes.
there was so much energy and focus on trying to get each side's info out there that
Yeah,
further move within the district, I don't believe was,
yeah, we only were focusing on getting everybody to know what
I believe.
what the facts were.
Sure.
I don't think you guys were having what happens down the road.
No, we did not have any of those discussions.
So legal counsel is saying that the SAU board would consist of the members of the Fall Mountain Board plus the members of the boards of the withdrawing districts.
So all of them?
That's what
she's saying here for the 26,
I think this is
27.
rad.
That's 15 people.
That's not unusual.
It's not.
You have to look at some of the
Earl
school
Deering had
boards in Vermont.
Well, TSA
In
is in
Vermont?
Hampshire of 20 up to 21.
In Vermont, it's a representative from each of the.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, some of their boards are 15, 20 people.
Oh, yeah, no, we had,
Yeah,
I mean, when
21.
I was in Chester, there were a lot of people on the SAU board, but
Mhm.
I need to
then-
know where you're gonna get all these people.
it was not all the people that were on all the boards.
It's gonna be kind of crazy.
I think it's important to be proactive rather than reactive. So I'd like to just, we don't spend a lot of money with lawyers, but just to have at least a framework about how do we need to act? How does the board need to move forward if it happens? Don't want to say more, but,
Well, I don't wanna waste money asking the wrong questions. So if you can frame them the right way,
I'll
it would
work
be
on
good.
trying to work on that tomorrow.
Cause you know, your lawyers get paid $400 an hour.
Fully aware.
It's crazy expensive.
Yes, can you put those questions that you're forming down in a document
Yeah.
and then
Send them to you.
that'd be great.
Sure, it was in the budget documents, but I really wasn't paying huge attention as I got lame ducked. So anyway, sorry. Can we, I'm sure it's in there, just tell me that it's in the folder and I'll go search. Curious the number of students in Alsted in the different grade levels. Is that document in there for this year?
It's the DOE, it's a DOE report. You passed the New Hampshire DOE.
It's a year, it's a year behind.
You're right.
I mean, I know where they are, but they're old.
So our current enrollment right now,
So, that was 25, 20.
Oh, you
The
think they
October
already
1st
posted
numbers might be
BOI?
there.
Oh, if they already posted BOI.
Yeah, I thought the October
I'll
1 numbers
go
were in
look.
there.
I'll go look, never mind. I'll look for myself. I was curious for Ackworth, Charlestown and.
But there's nothing in the law that says, as far as I've read, that that's how it has to be set up. We can set things up as we need, so that could be a part of the discussion about articles of agreement going forward, how many board members and how that makeup is completed.
For the remaining towns, assuming it passes, sure. You can revote, but it's a 1-year lag. So like chicken and egg, right? I don't know if you have to. Fix the articles first, right? And then make a change to how it works. I don't know what comes first.
Well, I think in order for Lori to give us any sort of report, or put an annual report together, or even begin to put a budget for next March, we have to know what they're gonna be apportioned out as.
Yeah, again. Uncharted territory, but I don't think we're the first or only one that's ever done this. Or had this happen. Didn't 1 or 2 succeed from the Condell Nation?
they're trying.
You're still in process? Okay.
But even then,
There's
we
been
know
other
that we're different
successions.
Yeah, there was,
I know we're different, but there would still be a
when it went into effect.
process of timing. Yes, we're a unicorn.
Yeah,
It's 2025, 2026.
It is posted, thank you, Karen, sorry, about that. I didn't realize it already posted it.
so the articles of agreement is something that's its own entity. And so,
And,
yeah, what I would like to see happen is we know that we have talked about a subcommittee for studying 195/16A. Still a possibility. I think people are still interested in that. I think we need that in addition to an articles of agreement committee. Is there consensus around this table that that is a subcommittee of this board for the next fiscal year? I mean, I don't know where we're gonna find enough people to study both heavy topics.
What are you looking at the articles of agreement?
What are we looking at? how to change them so they could be more equitable, how they could. It really will be a group of people who is looking at whatever the makeup that this district has after March 10th. It will take all of those towns into consideration. It could take all 5 or 3 or some make up of 4.
It's really a picking up where we would have gone had that other vote not moved forward,
Yes,
right? Looking into how do we structure individual K6, K8, whatever they are, districts, right? And then what does it look like with the remaining pieces? Cause that was the secondary discussion, we were trying to get to,
you're talking about the 16A, correct?
right?
Right, I'm wondering if that is separate of an articles of agreement discussion.
It's all relevant.
It's all relevant, but do we have 2 groups going simultaneously or should they
You're
one?
gonna
sub-
get enough people for 2 groups.
I don't know that I think the answer to your question is it depends on what the vote is.
Yeah.
If the vote fails and we're all still one big happy family,
Then
I
it's,
think you'll get as many people as you need to put this together or put this forward. If the vote passes and we're 3 happy remaining families left, then that's a different picture. So I don't know that you can have an answer to your question before the vote. And I think to do this, you're gonna need board members that have some kind of background. So it's gotta be one of the 4 people remaining.
I think if you have the 3 towns, I think you're gonna have to do it simultaneously.
Yeah.
If we all stay together, then I think you could probably veer off into 2 different groups, which would eventually come together because this group and this group are gonna have to eventually, form together in order to get all the information out there, but I do think there's 2 different avenues depending on what happens in a couple weeks. I think a lot of these discussions tonight are that, here's what we do if A happens and here's a planning and avenue we may wanna go if plan A happens. And here's planning and avenue we may wanna go, because, I mean, to have 2 people leave this board is, you're still staying in a pretty secure seating on decisions and votes and things like that. However, once it's all disrupted, depending on who you get where, all of these conversations are gonna be very different. Like, we all know each other, we know where we wanna go, but.
Well, what's interesting, to show its point. Right, the dynamics will change, however, you've got 2 people. Maybe not 1, right, Steve, cause Chaz has gotta come off, right? And who's running? Who's,
Chris,
For Walpole,
yeah, that's Steve.
Steve, yes.
Charles, Chris Balding.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say 2 of them have board experience, but they don't. Okay,
And Krista Rule, who is both Chris and Krista are on the
Yeah,
budget committee.
yeah, but I mean, at least they've been exposed.
They've been
to the
involved.
Data, yeah, and Steve knows the data. Or
Right.
knew how it worked. So it's not like you're getting people who are totally green, so that's helpful.
Right.
No, I think we have good people coming in. I
Yeah,
haven't heard anything about anyone running a write-in campaign against each of those. They're running a contested at the moment.
Mhm.
So I agree, and we know there's these topics, or I like to call it buckets, different areas of things that we need to look at. I feel like, for me anyway, I need a roadmap. Where is it, like you just said, I mean, I don't necessarily know, where is it we're trying to get? What is our destination? And how do, I think it'd be helpful to build a roadmap so we know where we're trying to go, but how are we gonna get there? And it is going to change depending on March 10th, which route we take. But we still have that end game in mind that we're wanting to achieve. So to me, and I was thinking, we're gonna have to create subcommittees to do a deep dive into these, significant areas. That, you know, that can, cause we can have discussions at a school board meeting, but it's not enough. 2 hours, 3 hours, it's just not enough. For us to be able to look at all aspects of the cooperative agreement. The facilities consolidation is a potential bucket, ADM capacity, right? And you know, and the staffing levels to support. You know, and keeping in mind that the legislature is in flux,
Right.
you know, that's something
That's
else.
true.
That's gonna sideline, you know, that's gonna come, that's coming. We know it's coming, we just don't know what it's gonna, what the impact is. But I still think even with all these unknowns, we can create, okay, here's where we feel we need to get to. Maybe it's based on ADM. The you know, continuous decline. You know, here are the things that we need to look at to get to this end point. That's helpful for me anyway. To know where we're going and how are we gonna get there.
I think it's very difficult because you're gonna have three voices that will agree with you tonight on how to develop these roads and maybe even how to begin to go down them. And though you're gonna have three very new voices on that could have a tremendous impact on the road.
Right, which path or, you know.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
the whole design of the road. I'm not, and I don't mean that,
Yeah,
I don't mean that badly, I'm
Right.
just saying, you have at least. I don't know the third candidate, but you have
Yeah.
at least two very strong voices
Yes.
that are going to be on this board.
yeah,
That could have a tremendous impact on
Yeah.
the road, on where to start the road, on what the road looks like, so I would
where we're
be,
going.
yeah.
And you know what it boils back down to? Somewhat, right? The thing that everybody hates to talk about. And it's always the groan that you make, right? And somebody verbalizes it out of their mouth, right? Is what's your strategic plan, right? What do you want for the school district? And we've been zigzagged so many different ways over the past 4 years. We've not been able to get back to what do we want for the students and this district, right? Because we've had to zigzag. You know, and part of that discussion is going to bring that up.
Do you think that's the chicken or do you think that's the egg? Like,
I
and
think
the
it's the
reason,
middle of the omelet.
so for me, it's looking at this as we need a strategic plan. We need to decide, you know, look at our population, who we are, what we want to be able to offer, which informs where we spend our money, who, you know,
Right.
everything we look at. But what to me is really hard in that aspect is that we have to know how to pay for it and we have to know the structure of our district in order to inform those things.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily think those things inform how we set up our articles of agreement.
However, yeah, but I also think that if both the withdrawals go through, you're gonna be so busy the first however long that these conversations are actually, I mean, it might give, you know, a slight road path, but you're gonna be so busy trying to figure out the legal beagles of how to dissolve and how to and then in dissolving, you're gonna have to rebuild. So when you're rebuilding, you're not gonna, I think you're automatically gonna develop a committee, cause you're gonna have a choice. So that's a different roadway than if everybody stays together. If everybody stays together, then yes, I think, you know, you probably do need two committees that eventually. Well, if we separate, I mean, that's just gonna be, I mean, we have legal questions right now, we still don't know all the legal beagles, we don't know who's gonna be on what, we don't know.
There's a
I'm not
lot-
trying to stress you out, but if this withdrawal goes through, you guys are gonna be so busy on the backside of this thing. That these conversations, I think will eventually catch up to that process, but I don't think it would be immediate.
Can I ask you a question? Are you suggesting we wait till March 10th to know where we're going?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, me too, because
Yeah.
it's totally different. It's good to have the conversations now, so we don't walk in on March 15th, whatever the date is, and go, oh my God, what do we?
What do we
gonna
do now?
Right, exactly. Right, so it's great to have the conversation now, but there's so many unknowns. That can change what the direction is. We're going to have to face both of these regardless, right, of what happens. We know that Walpole wants control of their own stuff from whatever to whatever, right? We know that, that's a given. So the committee on 190. What?
I thought I was trying, all of a sudden it started getting dark.
Oh, no. You're good, you just weren't moving enough.
Actually,
So I mean, a committee for that. Definitely, because I don't think that's gonna go away, although if we say tonight, let's do that committee and then the vote goes through. That may nix that committee.
Although I think that even if the vote goes through, that Walpole, say just Walpole pulls out. I think that the committee to talk about how are we set up and do we want to go with that is still a very valid thing.
Sure.
That's how
Because-
I've always understood it.
You know, I think that no matter what the vote is, that discussion needs to take place. Because, if we're setting up basically a whole new Fall Mountain, then we need to say, what is that new Fall Mountain? If we're not setting up a whole new Fall Mountain, we need to say, is this how we want Fall Mountain to continue?
Right,
And-
so it needs to be discussed no matter what.
Doesn't
So
that
there's
not
certain-
become a part though of the same discussion? When you have to redo your articles of agreement on how the costs are shared?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's all, they're both combined together.
Yeah.
Joe's hand up.
Yeah.
Do we want to recognize him as a visitor?
Are we good with taking public comment?
Yes.
Joe makes enough time to be here, yeah.
I was just gonna suggest that one possibility, and I don't know how this would float in this room. Should one or both of those towns leave, might be a good time to flush the articles of agreement and go back to doing it the way every other district does it, you know, with the equalized property values and
Can't
the,
rush them, you gotta vote.
things like, I mean, it's just a thought. Rather than reinvent a wheel goes back to the 60s, why not just do what everybody else is
It
doing?
only goes back to 2000, but.
Oh, where, how
2000,
about
yeah.
that?
I think that's the discussion is
Right.
that committee would bring back. What are the options? What does it look like if we change, the percentages that we have now, or if we go back to a
There's nothing in
50-50?
the articles of agreement about a town withdrawing.
Right.
It might give you the out to get out from underneath them.
Well-
Keep in mind, it still needs to go to vote and pass.
Right,
Two-thirds.
it's
By
not, we
2/3.
can't just say, oh, it's gone. It
Right.
has to go, it has to vote, pass by 2/3.
I mean, that's a good question too for a lawyer to add to that list is, if we don't get 2/3, what does it look like?
Then we just stay with what we have.
So we just reconfigure the percentages based on what we have? I mean, I don't know if that's legal
Yeah.
either.
I think there has to be a default, and I think probably the
What is-
DOE gets involved at that point. But that's a question for the lawyer. I have a question though, and Jamie might know the answer to this, or Lori might. If you're a cooperative, do you have to have articles of agreement?
Yes.
So there have to be something.
Yeah, probably.
They could say I don't know, okay.
Because articles of agreement, i.e. bylaws, same thing, different name, are how you put in place how you manage each other together.
Let me sure.
It's like a corporation.
Does the multi-district SAU also need articles of agreement, or that just runs by how the law runs?
I think Lori probably knows more about this. Mine was a unicorn.
And-
Dresden was a unicorn, SAU70, because we were created that way being an interstate.
Yeah.
Cause you were interstate, yeah.
I'm not sure that we had an articles of agreement at SAU 34, but each district has their own formation
Board.
and
Right.
board and rules of, engagement.
So
So
your
there must
high
have been
school-
something though to
The shared.
provide the weight of, well, the shared cost was the formula driven, but I'm saying like for voted weighting and weighting the votes and calculating that.
Yes,
there had
that's
to
built in the
be something.
SAU though, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in
RSA.
SAU.
Conval was like us though, right? Conval was not individual districts, they were cooperative.
It's a cooperative, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
So
no,
we're
when I
not-
was in Hillsborough, I had Windsor, Washington and Hillsborough. Deering.
Okay, so they were separate towns.
They were
that-
separate districts, three
that
separate
they're in
districts.
SAU.
The Deering Hillsborough was a cooperative and then the two other towns were independent and had Windsor tuitioned all of their students to
Okay.
Hillsborough, Deering, Washington tuitioned their middle school and high school students.
Gotcha.
I have a question. Wouldn't, if you had. I'm gonna get my question formed so that it makes some kind of semblance of sense. If you had a multi-district SAU, then wouldn't the SAU need to have some kind of a articles of agreement to, for lack of a better term, on how it worked with those districts? I mean,
But that's what I was saying, is that I think that there must have been something for,
there has to be something.
like to designate the weight of the voting and some other things. We would prepare a budget, the board would come together and approve it or vote it down, whatever. And then that was allocated based on the formula to the districts.
Right, so the formula has to
Yeah.
be predetermined.
Yeah.
Same with SAU 70, we had a formula that was determined for each one of the member deficit.
The default formula is in the RSA. I think if you had if you weren't using the default formula, then probably you have to have some kind of agreement, right?
Articles.
Yeah.
So because we're considering using the default formula,
Are we?
Another question, the whole way that this what, I know it, if you know what you're looking at, it's not convoluted, but our way that we put out our, the money, it was developed because Charlestown kept getting, it wasn't working by doing it by the
ADM.
by the ADM. So, I mean, that's why Steve made that, was because it wasn't working. So I'm just concerned to just say, oh, we're just gonna go
Yeah.
back to everybody else does it.
Yeah,
That-
good point.
Again,
That was 20 years ago.
Right,
26, yeah.
yeah,
That was 26 years ago.
right,
And I think, and I appreciate Steve's work on that and I appreciate, I believe Albert's work on that. And I do think that it did save Charlestown some money at the time and they did good work on it. But I think we need to reevaluate
oh,
it.
I'm not saying we don't need to reevaluate it, not at all.
Because
$8
I would think that Charlestown voters would want just a very simple, let's try to figure this all out. I think what they worked on was like method 1, method 2, method 3, if I understand what everybody is saying is we're taking that, we're considering taking that all away.
All the way.
So we're not gonna try to look for 5% here or 5% here, we're saying. It's based off from this, and this is what you pay, and for you guys, this is what you pay. And the 3 towns just kinda live happily ever after with one another.
Here's the
And
other
then
part
I have
of an
one other
SAU.
question, can I have one other question if we're,
Because there's differences for SAU budgets.
right, and would the high school be what I've dealt with, and I was in Vermont so when I was doing this, was that there was a high school district that was separate from the town districts.
Depends on if it's a cooperative high school
It was
or regional.
yeah, right, Green Mountain was a
Yeah.
regional high school.
Regional high school.
And it brought in from the towns that were part of the SAU that,
So they had their own board.
and so they had their own board.
So
So-
there still would be my understanding is there would still be a cooperative board for the high school. If you broke it up that way, if we went down the 195-13 route, where we had every town had its own district. It, they would have their own budgets, but they would also be a member of the cooperative for the high school. So there would be that board, it would always be that board. And
There's
that's,
also
lot of words.
the opportunity for a joint, the JMA that had been brought up a few years ago, joint management agreement. I think that's what it stands for. There is one in the state. And that's a different way of setting up a high school, so there's additional options as well.
And then how would, I mean, I know that when I have dealt with districts that was an SAU and then multiple districts within that SAU. The superintendent of the SAU went to the different board meetings.
Correct.
We have a cooperative superintendent, so, I mean, that we have superintendent by committee. So would representatives from that committee go to those different?
I think
board
it's too
meetings?
early to have that discussion.
Okay, but that's one thing to think
It's
about,
absolutely a concern and a
Yeah.
problem.
because you're not gonna have the entire group go to each of these,
Exactly.
that's unrealistic.
So SAU.
Unless you're paying him more.
Right.
So SAU districts, right? Have to vote earlier than the rest of the votes. They have to build budget earlier
Give to, yeah.
and be ratified earlier. And general population does not vote on SAU budgets. SAU budgets are voted by the board that's in place.
I wondered how that worked. 'Cause I've been
Okay.
watching a lot of.
There are no
meetings
votes
and
on
meetings.
SAU budgets.
That makes sense.
They're set by January 15th. And then each of the constituent towns on a predetermined formula or the formula here, which is half average membership and attendance and half most recently available equalized valuation. Okay, and then it's dispersed out to their budgets.
Oh, so that's broken up then into their budget.
And then they vote on their individual budgets that includes that.
That's right.
Oh,
And that is
they
how
can't
SAU
change that,
70 is.
they can't modify the budget below that number, right? They're on the hook for that at least.
Yeah, you have to pay the SAU, yeah.
Okay.
So whoever sits, so then that is where the importance of that SAU board comes into play and
Correct.
who's sitting on it.
Yes,
So whereas we have a little bit, the public has a little bit more authority with us because there's a deliberative and we
Yeah.
hold public meetings and
Yeah.
they can come in and they can, whereas the SAU is,
you still have to have a deliberative,
Well, if you're an FP two, right, you still have to have.
you still have to have you don't vote, you still have to have a hearing. SAU budget still has to have a hearing.
Yes, yes.
And everybody comes and tells what they think about everything. But they have no authority or power to change the SAU budget.
Right.
they can just yell
it's
about it.
sort of like when a fire department is its own little entity within a town.
Oh,
They
like-
can just come up with their own budget
Yeah.
and, well, I didn't say any names.
I said
I was
that's
just
Hypothetically, right?
Huh?
Hypothetically.
I was just using it, it's similar to that, like
Fire
whatever,
district, correct.
you're kind of stuck with it. which
Separate
is-
district, yeah.
Yep, glad I know.
This is all interesting, little.
That's why
That's
all of the districts who are part of the SAU have a seat at the table.
A seat at the table, sure,
Correct.
right, so that they do have input.
Right, but you're gonna wanna make sure as a town that you have the appropriate representation there because
Right.
it will have a balance. Yeah.
Okay, like you've solved everything yet.
No, we haven't, but it's good discussion.
I think it's a good brainstorming thought process, right? And then if you want, at the next meeting, if there's enough time, then you bring this discussion back to say, okay, well, people thought about it. Does anybody else have any other questions? I mean, you gotta start, there's a lot that could happen, there's a lot that couldn't happen, but there's a lot that could happen. And it's important to have those discussions at least a little bit beforehand,
Yeah.
just to kind of peg ideas off from one another. It's not a waste of time if that's what you're thinking.
Well, no, it certainly isn't. Getting all these things on the table is important, and I don't think we've done enough of that. I was playing around with some schedules and things. And one thing that kept coming up is that RSA 195/25 had a very, specific 180-day timeline. And I think we can use that as the first step in our road, is knowing that that's how much time we have in order to bring these committees together, do the research, and make the presentations to the public in time to get it to the warrant in March. So it feels very tight.
Do any of these changes require a presentation to the Board of Education?
If you change your articles of agreement, do you have to?
No,
You don't have.
no, but you have to file with them once the votes happened, if it changes them.
Okay.
So you don't have to have pre-approval, which is odd, but
They were like.
you don't have to have pre-approval. You should have legal representation to make sure they're correct. Usually, when you're gonna change articles, your lawyer will usually contact the DOE just to be sure that it's within the context. We've changed articles here, what, 4 times, 5 times, right? And I've changed articles in Dresden twice. So, but you have to file within a certain amount of time after the vote.
That's easier than trying to get on their agenda.
And then they lose it anyway and say, we never got that. And you say, you didn't put that in it, did you?"
All right.
Outside of that, I know Chris is gonna bring some of this kind of stuff up, but, with the next board, I would like the board to start looking at like all services that are probably like not teacher services, to make sure that, farming them out would not be more cost effective. I know that the board did this a while ago, looking at food services, right? We used to have our own food services, and that became a service that we farmed out. I think it's important to look at, the transportation. I ended up all of Langdon's numbers for transportation. We're paying $51,916 for transportation.
Sure.
Seems like a lot.
That's a route.
Hmm?
One route.
But that's a partial route, because we're sharing that route with Absted. Right?
So I
So,
was gonna say, one route ranges anywhere from 42,000 to 65,000, depending on.
yeah, so it just seems,
Parameters.
it's, since we're sharing that route with Alsted. I don't know how many kids we have on that bus, but I think we have 5. We've had, when we're doing the process of 3 high school kids, I think Art said it came up, so maybe it's 5 now. I don't know how many elementary and middle school kids are on that bus. It just seems, it seems high to me that, I think we need to look at outside services, and see what the deal is, and see if it could be, if it is any cheaper. It may not be. And then we can go, we looked at that, it's not cheaper. I do think that Chris's idea is talking about, exterior facilities, contractors. Is it something that should be looked into?
Yeah.
Really looking at those work records and seeing how often do we actually need a plumber? I mean, I know Lori brought up a concern about if we have the plumbing, we need plumbing running that day. There are plenty of big firms, big for us around here, that we probably contract with, that would probably give us priority on they have more than one plumber. I mean,
Priority doesn't mean they'll be here today.
So,
Well,
allow me to share some historical information. Because I'm the reason we had a plumber HVAC technician on staff. Okay, we didn't have that before my, I don't know, 4th year here probably, maybe 5th year. So here's where Fall Mountain, specifically regional high school, is different. Okay? We're not on town water and sewer. We're on all of our own. So if a water line goes down, a school's closed, period. Okay, you cannot run a school. So when you're dealing with town water and sewer, at most all of our other schools, except for probably Ackworth.
I don't think that, yeah.
And maybe.
There is no town water there.
Ackworth and Langdon.
I don't think Alsted has town water.
No, they don't. No.
Gloucester
Actually,
doesn't.
we do, right
In the
right
town.
there in the village, we have town water.
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
They have, we
yeah,
have.
that was a discovery that I found out about.
They don't
and
have
it shocked me
septic.
too.
They don't have septic, but they have water.
So.
No septic, just water.
So when you have a problem with one of those schools, the town's usually involved. Department that's available every waking moment, right? So having plumbers and or HVAC techs on staff, you know, do you need them 60% of the time? Maybe not. But there's definitely probably 40% of the time you need them, or you're shutting the school down. Okay, so you just want to keep that in mind. And to Shelley's point, you don't have a lot of large contractors around you, okay? You've got, I can name 4 of them because I did this here. And so usually when you're gonna do something like that, you have to sign a contract with them where you pay a base rate, right? To keep, so that you go to the top of the food chain when there's a problem, right? It's just like it's a base contract price. And depending on what their services are, HVAC technicians in our area probably, they're paying them $32 to $38 an hour.
I think that's probably on the low side.
Yeah, and then you're gonna add the adder to that. We're not paying our techs that, okay? Like our employees here. So we can look into it, absolutely. As long as the school board, when they make that decision to do that, is gonna stand up and take the heat if something happens and goes down and you're closing the schools.
Does facilities use a reporting system to report all
Yes.
tickets?
They have a work order system in place, I don't know that it's used as effectively as it can be, but we're working on that.
Okay, so there is data to know how
Yes.
often plumbers plumbing.
Well, we had about 1,400 tickets this last year and 600 of them were heating related.
Yeah, they put
So
work orders in.
just heating, not the plumbing on top of it.
Right,
So
toilet jam.
that's, 43%.
So you have data you can read, that the board can review and to determine. I'm not saying you need to do it. You need to, I think the board needs to look and see, is it cost effective? Is it management effective? That's a whole part of it too, but I would like them to look at all of those. Everything that's not teacher related to see if it is, to put it out.
I just think it's also important to have it for the public to see that we've done the work. Because they are asking questions, they are looking like in your own home budget, which is what most people can picture. Where would they cut if things were struggling? And so they're asking us to do the same. And so, yeah, we have to look at every single piece and make sure that we are being good stewards of every one of those dollars.
It's risk versus, it's how much risk you're willing to take.
Absolutely. And I think we could, once we have all the data, stand up and defend which side we fall.
There was transportation the last time I ran it here, cause that was a question came up every year, every 2 years. It was probably $30,000 to $50,000 cheaper to keep it in-house. But I mean, and here's the other problem. Okay, and this is everywhere across the country. The transportation companies have no capacity to put on any more schools. You have 3 companies, basically. All right, and so depending on where we are, although they would probably hire on all of, if you decided to do it. It would work the same way the food service did, where they would probably hire on all of our employees. But when they do that, first student in certain areas pay bus drivers $31.50 an hour, okay? To come to work every day, because the shift work sucks. You're up at 4:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning and you're having to get a bus ready and horrible weather, and then you have to go sit somewhere and do nothing in the middle of the day and then come back. So there's not a lot of capacity right now. You have first student, you have STA, you have some small ones, Butler Bus up in Lebanon, but it's very difficult to make that transition just because there's not a lot of in our area, there's not a lot of suppliers.
I'll input into that,
Yeah.
that discussion and have it. I would like for you all to just at least look at those things. Because again, 80% of our budget is, 80% of our people, of our budget's people, right? And,
We're in the people business.
right, we're in a people business and we're not gonna get rid of teachers.
Well, we have the right size.
Right, we have the right size. Yeah, that's true too. And I think that's part of the conversation that's gonna come out. A whole other conversation that has to happen after the vote happens. Because,
I think you just need to reinstate the facilities committee and make sure that you have outside people that are part of that committee. Chris, and I was on it as a school board member and Chris was on as a stakeholder. No, this was years ago. And I don't even know what happened to that committee. It just died right out.
Yeah.
And we were having full-fledged discussions about things such as this, and we would talk with Bill and. Every plan that came before for, for the school capital reserve went before that. Facilities committee and they had a discussion before it even went up the chain and that. Some of those discussions have slid off because we. Didn't either have enough people for committees, so you ended up having me, Chris and Bill sitting on a phone call one night. And you can't really do much with 3 people, but at least there were discussions, like. I think if there are people who are truly interested in. Looking at this stuff, then you'll get an investment in those committees. If not, then you have to rely on an already. Strained. Management team to look at those things, and it takes time and it takes. Data and information, and then you have to have school board members who are willing to sit on them and. I think it's important, but. Yeah. I do remember the days.
I don't remember a facilities committee, so.
Well,
yeah.
the facilities committee got kind of COVIDized and superintendentized, we
Actually,
got-
yeah, I think you're right.
Your
I think
brother
during,
served on it.
I think during
He got rid of
COVID,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, we got-
Cleared it.
I do know that there's gonna be a strong push for this block thing. And getting rid of block scheduling, and I would really like the failure rate. Versus classes to be looked at. So if we're charging 24,000 per pupil approximately. And they take 8 classes. That's about $3,000 per class. And if they fail, if the failure rate is extremely high. So if there's between 400 Ds and Fs. And the failure rate is high, then you're looking at those students having to retake those classes. Or having to bring them up to speed. So I would look into that because I know people are gonna wanna. Try to hack this block scheduling, and I think there's a whole lot more stuff that could be looked at before that just gets chopped.
before we throw the baby out with bathwater.
I don't think we're willing to just chop anything without studying it fully, and so that's a good question to ask.
I didn't mean to insinuate that, but.
Okay,
and to dovetail into that, I would like this. Probably the same kind of committee. To look at what would, how could you accommodate 7 to 10? And what would that mean at the current middle schools? Because Chris, does 6th grade have, when I was in 6th grade, I had a 6th grade teacher and I was with her all day long, except for the art teacher and the music teacher.
Yeah.
Does 6th grade still do that here, or does 6th grade do like, they have ELA and a math and a?
So it depends, depending on what school you're at. Charlestown. Middle school has 5 through 8, so they have teams of 5, 6, 7, 8. The other schools have 5th grade separately, so the Alstead has 5th grade in the Outback. And then the middle school is 6 through 8. And then Walpole has it similar, but they have 5th grade separate, still within the same building. Still self-contained classrooms, I would say. They may shift back and forth. But then a true middle school model 6 through 8.
Okay.
So they're not.
So the
all-
middle school models, when you actually rotate, like you have a math teacher, you have a
Right.
language arts teacher, you have a science teacher, that type of model.
There's good and bad with both.
So that would probably mean, just as part of, talking out loud, that would mean sixth grade going back to the elementary model, not being the middle school model. I thought the Outback was now the LEAP program, or not, maybe not for Focus or LEAP or
Some of
somebody.
the focus program, due to a number of different things, is now in Violet School. If you remember
Okay.
last year,
Okay,
we did some modifications to one of the rooms in the back to be able to support that
Okay.
program.
all right. So fifth grade's back in the.
Correct.
portable. Okay,
But when you really think of it, if you are looking at moving seventh and eighth grade up, there's a lot of possibilities in what the remaining structures could look like, the buildings as they stand. And there are a lot of different models that could potentially work.
Mhm.
And you,
But-
and you give some. You give some, a tiered control by letting the towns decide what they would like to do. So if you were to bring six and, you know, 7 and 8 and empty out that middle school in Charlestown, that opens up an array of ideas, and thoughts and processes that could actually, save that budget an enormous amount of money, depending on which route you went. You know, if you took those kids out of the middle school, you could look at, I'm not saying shut that school down. You could make it a museum for the high school, I'm sure everybody
Are
would,
you talking about shutting down the Charlestown Middle School?
yeah, and putting it all at the primary.
I don't think
Depending.
they'd all fit.
Well, I'm just saying, you can look at everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, and Elsted's the same way. When you-
Elsted's big time.
When you start
so
moving,
small.
when you start moving to, you know, 2, 3 classes of chunks of kids to a different location, you could be looking at you know, in Elsted and Charleston, you could be looking at an array of options. That could be cost savings. It could keep the budget the same.
Nation?
Yeah, I mean, you really could.
The numbers were done, yeah,
Yeah.
they existed. Our numbers of enrollment have tanked since those numbers were done. And it was proven that a consolidation to a middle school model, assuming we didn't have to build brand new buildings, would have saved money.
It was just,
Oh,
it's not something we were all ready to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah.
what's the name of the program that's at Halsted? Is that LEAP?
Focus.
Focus.
Yeah, LEAP is in
And
one.
what grade is that for? Grades is that for?
So that's for middle school, so it would be 5. I think it's only 4 grades that you can have, so I believe it's 5 through 8.
5 through 8, okay. Really, that'd be, if part of that group moved to the high school, be a good option for the ELC,
See,
Yeah.
building.
Or the ELC becomes the new SA office, but I don't think these are conversations this board is entitled to have, or at least I'm not entitled to have. I will be
You can abstain, we'll bring it forward.
oh, you can bring it forward, but,
That's a great idea, I hadn't thought about that, SAU in the ELC building.
oh, I've said it for like ever since they said it, so
Yeah.
maybe I haven't said it loud enough.
no, I think we have talked about it, but we also have to consider the special ed department is also housed in Langen.
Oh,
So
sure.
putting those two together, I don't know if there's enough, but
'Cause I think
that doesn't mean that we can't use, they can separate and use different spaces somewhere we have opportunities to do so.
Right, exactly.
I think these are good questions. I think they do fit, you know, really within those committees that we're talking about in the next year, because all of them go together. We can't change a budget and save any sort of stripe. I'm not even talking about saving dollars, but like just to streamline what things are so that everybody understands the process and the formulas that we use to do things without talking about some of these things and making things simpler. So we will see in March if we need 4 different committees or if we need 5 different committees, or if some of these can be combined and have.
You're not even gonna know on March 10th anyway, so it'll be March 11th.
Yeah.
You're not gonna know that night.
She's not going.
I'm not going home till I know.
You're not gonna get all the votes in.
No, that's. Mm-hmm.
Surprise, midnight, usually, you know.
Guarantee you.
Well, I know
Sure.
Misty sits up and waits for them,
It's a
so,
different
She doesn't get them
Yes,
from
you're right.
everybody.
no.
No. She's chasing them the next day.
Well, we'll
At
know
least
soon.
some of them, at least some of them.
No, I used to get them all, I used to get all of them texted to me right at.
I don't
1
know,
a.m.
'cause now you got hand counting
I
and
used to
sometimes
drive
that can be a
around.
nightmare
and
and.
That sounds pretty fantastic to watch. They just print the button and then we verify that all the numbers of ballots are
You
there.
gotta have counters this year.
On Napworth, we count each individual little ballot.
There's only 4 people.
That's not nice.
That wasn't nice.
There's more than 4.
There's at least 5.
I was gonna
No,
say
it's good.
10, but you know.
Someday I'll help you count. Okay, so does anybody have any other thoughts they wanna put on the table about this?
I just kind of like to know from the two that are leaving.
Yeah,
What,
be
I mean, we
careful
heard a little
there.
bit about your thoughts, but you've been on the board for a while. What words of wisdom do you have, or that you would like, that you would suggest going forward?
Wow. How to cope.
I think I think of is I kind of came in here really. Oh, well, 2 things. Now that I just thought of it. One, I came in here thinking I would really like for consolidation to happen, and then realizing how hard consolidation was going to be
Mm.
to sell.
Mhm.
However, I've seen over the last 4 years, the way budgets are going and the way enrollment's going, that it really is time to have that conversation
Mhm.
again. And something I said at the Charlestown Rotary meeting was I don't want, we've had two withdrawal attempts, whether it's successful on March 10th or not.
Mhm.
That I think when Charlestown voted to withdraw and it failed, that we really did miss an opportunity to really look internally at ourselves and take a deep dive. Looking, what were the reasons for that? How can we fix the reasons for that? It really, I think a lot of it was because the board scattered, I felt after it happened, but it wasn't much. People didn't stick with it. So, I think the same thing happens with, especially Walpole. That we really have to sit down with the folks that were architects of that and get rid of all the bad juju, right?
Mhm.
And say, tell us how could this have not happened, right? What could we have done to make this not happen? And maybe even going back to the Charlestown folks who are really involved, having that same conversation with them, maybe not the same room, at the same time, but, and really listening
Mhm.
about what made this happen? What can we learn from this so we don't go through this again if it fails?
I actually think if you were to get Charlestown and Walpole people in the room together. The people who were trying to withdraw immensely from Charlestown and the people who were trying to withdraw. From Walpole, even though those, whatever, that they had the same issue. It's the same issues. There's no difference. Between why Charlestown wanted to leave and why Walpole wanted to leave. That's my personal view. The only difference is that.
Up and down.
The only difference is that when Charlestown wanted to leave, Walpole really pushed for them to stay.
Mhm.
Pushed the whole community of Charlestown to stay. They literally were right there. In town, in Charlestown,
Well,
picketing.
I'm not a good English major,
Wow.
because, you know, I do finance, but I think is it called a dichotomy, because Walpole's not wanting the budget to go down, they want it to go up. Charlestown wanted the budget to go down, so
Mhm.
they're at it for the same reasons about local control of their budget, right? So I think the line reasons are the same, it's local control. But I mean, I think in opposite directions when they're talking about local control. 'Cause-
Maybe, I don't think it really matters that it goes up or down, I think
Yeah.
it's that basic line of. We wanted to do what we wanted to do with our budget,
Right.
and we didn't want
Somebody
people
tell
to
them no.
interfere, and Walpole feels the same way, and.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that you're ever, I mean, unfortunately, this is what. This one's the third withdrawal? The third one?
Second.
No, you had the Charlestown one, then there was one for Charlestown before that, correct?
Charlestown has, called for the study, I think, at least twice.
At least
Oh,
twice.
really?
Yeah,
That must have been a long time ago.
there was one. Albert
Well,
tells the story.
Well, you could only do it every 10 years,
That's
so.
prior to 05.
Well, they called for it, but I think that one died before it got into the official.
My understanding is they had, just as we sat here and had people in the public ask us to just vote that it wasn't feasible or suitable and
Uh-huh.
end the study. That did happen in the eighties and it never got out of this committee. People just said, no, Charlestown, it's not gonna be feasible, and so they didn't even do the study.
Wow.
And so it's unfortunate, and I think that's part of why we were so obstinate that, no, the study has to be done.
Mhm.
We owe it to the people who voted in favor of saying, please tell us what the opportunities are.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Kevin, go ahead. I'm
No, that's-
sorry,
no, I'm basically done. I do think hearing that putting a lot of effort into that 195, no, 513,
16.
16,
Eggs.
Most
16A,
important.
would probably would help to heal some of those wounds, maybe.
I think that's what people have been asking for a really long time.
Mhm.
And
Well, even the,
I'm sorry, Alyssa, is that the changing the size of the district to just the high school maybe?
yes.
Is that what you said? Okay.
It gives the board an opportunity to determine what the district makeup is.
Well, you have 5 separate
Yeah.
districts, cooperative, one
Mhm.
regional cooperative high school.
It's
Yeah.
essentially a withdrawal, except that you
You all do
withdraw
it
by,
together.
yeah.
And I would say that the biggest frustration is exactly what Kevin said, or at least mine is that we had a fantastical opportunity that we could have capitalized on after the Charlestown withdrawal. And I am not at all pointing fingers. I sat on this board with everybody, not necessarily the same players that are here today. And with all good intentions that we're gonna capitalize on that, and then it's just one thing after another. I mean, how many superintendents have I gone through since I've been on the
Yeah, we
board?
got hit with so many things, we couldn't do anything.
You no more get a running start and you hit a mud puddle. Or a mud bog, I should say. It's a bog, it's not a puddle. It's a bog. And then you get out of the bog and you think, okay, we're on steady ground, we're gonna start going again. And then just as you think you're going, you hit another bog. And it's that, but you have to keep going.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And even if the towns get through this withdrawal and everybody stays together, it doesn't matter how many bogs you go through, you just have to keep getting up and trying to remember the focus of what we're trying to do.
Right.
And that is to be, you want to be fair to everybody, you want to provide good education to our students. And I will always stand and say that I think local control is an illusion, but whatever.
So best
Because
plans
the
get
problem,
trailed.
the problem that we're gonna have, if we were to all just stay together and separate
Mm.
and let Walpole do what they want, let Charlestown do what they want, and Alsted do what they want locally in town, right? When they finally funnel up to the high school, and we had this conversation, and
Devastated.
this is how we got to where Walpole said we kind of wanted to leave, because what the board said is we want, when we have all those kids funnel up in here,
We want there to be.
the problem that we have then is you have this batch of kids here, this batch of kids here, and this batch of kids here, which then you end up with a program of studies that is so out of control because you're trying to get all of these steps in. And where this Walpole thing came about, I believe, if Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong, is when we said, what we would like to do is have all of our guppies come in at swimming about the same speed. So that we can really focus when they get up into the high school. All right, all of our guppies are about here. You're gonna have some that are here, you're gonna have some that are here, but the majority of them are all red little guppies doing what they need to do, right? And we have some that excel and some that struggle. And then we can focus on the majority of the guppies. And, you know, I do think there are challenges if we stay together and you have one town that really excels at this and you have another town that really struggles. All of our guppies are gonna be all over the place.
But if we went to the multi-district SAU, we would still have the SAU board, correct? There'll still be the SAU involved.
Yes.
And the SAU, as we discovered recently, the SAU still has curriculum and development.
Yes.
The authority, they don't tell what each district what to teach, but they do monitor all of that. So
I think you're onto something there, because to refine a little bit about what we're talking about is we had 3 different attendance areas who all had the same curriculum, but we have different programs and different ways of teaching. So they all came in with different experiences when they got here. And so you have a science teacher saying, oh, well, you must have worked on this part of our science, but not that part. Now, what we've done, in my understanding, is we brought all 3 of our attendance areas into the same program. So you're always gonna have kids who succeed at different levels, but we can manage that here. We offer different levels for them based on what they need. But at least they were all coming in, having been exposed to the same program. And that's what I think our success was in the last few years, is that we're at least having consistency in that by the time the children get here. And so I would hope that because we would be the same SAU, that remains to be seen.
But if you have a town that is willing to invest X, Y, and Z and have 2, 3, 4, 5 more teachers, they're gonna go further in that program lesson than a town that only has 1 teacher or 2 teachers.
Yeah,
And do you know what I mean? I'm not saying we
Yeah.
can't, saying we can't work through the challenges, and there's gonna be
Right.
challenges no matter what. But I just remember having that conversation and it was, I believe it was the first year that the budget committee was back reinstated. And we had we had the guppy conversation. And maybe it's more elegant to say it the way you said it, which I agree is much better than using guppies, but hence the reason why I probably should step down. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding, but I think it's workable. I think we can do it, but there is a challenge because we really did want everybody flowing in kind of at the same pace. That way we knew, right? If all attendance areas were really excelling at AP classes, then we know we could expand AP classes up here. But if we're not really producing those APs because we're worried about food deficit or kids sleeping or things like that, then we can cut back on the APs. So it's all it's very complicated.
There's a lot of
complex.
factors when you're dealing with people
Yeah.
who are true individuals.
Yeah. Does that help you, Karen?
Yeah. Mhm. I like
I
it.
think you really just truly need to be on the board for about 24 years, and by then, but no, I'm kidding, I'm joking. I will say some of it gets easier every year you go through it, but then every year you go through it, there becomes even more challenges.
Right, different things come up, yeah.
Well, and some are beyond our control, right?
Right.
Because your state legislature
Yeah.
is going mental and doing, 1,200 different bills
Well,
that
they
are
wanna
insane.
shrink down the number of SAUs.
Oh, yes, I'm
You
aware.
know,
Yeah.
that's the other thing,
Trying to force consolidation.
yeah.
Yeah,
hope
well,
that's working in Vermont.
why not? Because it works for their area agencies when it comes to
Trying to force open enrollment.
individuals with disabilities. You have these area little pipelines that they
agencies.
scoot. Yeah, area agencies. So Community Partners is out on the seacoast, Pathways is up in Claremont. They funnel the money through these little area things, and I think somebody is looking at that and saying, why can't we do that with the SAUs? We have a little bit more control. It's ironic that they talk about the SAU system. 12 area agencies, 12 area SAUs, so if you really look, if you've ever been part of this issue over here, and then you look at what they're proposing, it looks very similar.
Oh, yeah.
It looks
Oh, it does.
eerily
I
similar.
hadn't even thought about that, Shelley, but you're right. It does. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
nice to
hadn't
have
really
a
thought about it.
perspective from the town.
Mhm.
It's nice to have the municipal perspective. Because you see different things than we do.
I've worked in the area agencies, so that's why I don't think the town has anything to do with it,
It's-
but. Yeah, but if you look at
Yeah,
like pathways
Yeah,
or
because I work with
community
Pathways and
partners
Community
or,
Partners and yeah,
uh,
Monadnock
Yeah,
Family
yeah.
Services and.
they
yeah.
have 12 area agencies, they want 12 SAUs. I know, you can see what they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I hadn't even thought
I
about that.
also thought at
Absolutely.
one point that the finance directors of the towns could do the business administration of the school districts. And
Yeah.
many of the that tried it quickly found out it was not even close to the same type of regulation and crap that we had to deal with.
I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just,
Well, no, it's definitely something that we need to be aware of because we're gonna have to pivot if that's what happens. Like, that can make all of this move.
Right.
Every conversation we've had tonight,
Yeah.
out the window.
Well, I think what happens with the open enrollment vote that may or may not take place on
On
Thursday
Thursday.
is gonna have a really massive and far-reaching effect perhaps on the makeup of our legislature in the next term. Okay? Because
Well-
people don't really like it when you take their tax dollars and send them somewhere else without giving them a voice.
Mhm.
Well, I certainly know there's been plenty of outcry. I don't know, everybody at this table signed that document, but there was a lot of names on it.
See what happens. I'll keep you posted.
Did they ever fix my name? Did they?
I don't know, I never went back in my,
I don't know.
I think it was just an auto.
I signed it, and I'm at the table.
I
Same.
think I was the first one.
You were the first, well, you come up first, cause
Yeah,
that word
afterwards.
comes up.
Oh, but I didn't see anybody else from our board that when I signed it.
Oh, no, you were the
Yeah.
first. Yeah. You were
Yeah.
the first.
Mine should
I-
be there somewhere.
Yep.
No, I think it was good.
No, I had to laugh though, cause you pop up first on everything, cause it's accurate.
Right?
All right, well, I think this was a good
Yeah.
conversation. Maybe we'll get chat by 7.
I wanted to see if I could sign it twice, once for Goshen and once for Akron.
of course we'll be out by 7.
Yes,
Oh,
as an employee.
Oh,
We have public
That's-
comments. Joe might talk.
Yes.
What
I
are the
signed
things
it.
do we need to talk about?
So is there anything else anybody wanted to add to this as we move forward?
Ask Joe. if he-
Yeah, I'll open up public comment
Yeah.
moment.
No?
We're good? All right. Hi, see, we have a member of the public. You wanna speak?
Oh, no, I mean, I spent Saturday in Elsted's deliberative session and talked about this ad nauseum. And I'm like, I'm not even on this. Why are you asking me all these questions?
What were they asking, Joe?
They're all upset about open enrollment.
Oh.
Where is that going?
Yeah.
Who's responsible for this? And we had 2 representatives from Concord sitting there.
Wonderful.
One of them jumped right up, our Democrat, said, I wasn't involved in any of that. And then the Republican said, this is a good thing. You know, you guys need open enrollment. And I'm curious, you know, I mean, I think, I don't know, is open enrollment even a thing? Because if it's a thing, that might be the salvation, you know, if how do you attract folks from other districts to come to Fall Mountain?
Who were your representatives that were?
Kevin?
Oh, Jim Gruber from actually West Elstead or Lost Elstead is the Democrat.
Okay,
And our Republican is a person you're well aware of, Rich Nalavanko.
okay.
And it was like, listening to this, it was like, the thing that really scared me was Nalavanko's son. And I'm like, oh my God, he reproduced.
Well,
Whole
we're
other
gonna be,
generation.
Be nice, be nice.
we're gonna
Try to
not
be
bring up
nice.
names of such. No, I think I had some excellent conversations with Rich Nalavanko about this, and I think he, even if he's
Yeah.
in support, he very clearly is. I think he understood what we were facing in terms of how do we budget for something when we have no recourse to add anything or take anything away or move anything at this.
That was the thing, and the way that the legislation went through, basically saying, if your district takes a child from any place else, you're now already an open enrollment school, and Fall Mountain has these tuition agreements with a couple other towns or 3 other towns. So I recall, so you're already an open enrollment school, and it's like, oh my word. You know, how much is this gonna
The
cost? now?
definition of the new law.
Show me some.
I see. Go ahead, Shelley.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Were we?
Well, this was I mean, we can have those conversations, but I think they could probably be side conversations.
When's our
Yeah.
next?
Do that.
Really?
Really?
No, you're good. When's the, what?
The
Next
time-
meeting?
23rd, okay.
And what we'll be looking at, the only agenda item I have so far,
Okay.
unless anybody wants to add anything, is the default
Sorry,
budget
default, that's
and
what I
what
meant.
that's gonna look like after the changes. So Lori will be in the spotlight.
Well, Lori and team, she doesn't make the decisions on it.
No, but she gets to present to us. That's what I mean.
And then what do we have on the night? Nothing. We shouldn't really.
Chicken salad, Shelley.
No, we're not having chicken salad. We can't afford it anymore. I said we need to stop the chicken salad. We have to tighten our belts. There is no more chicken salad, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Now that I'm gone, it's all gone. No. No, I'm very concerned. I always get leery about having meetings right. Like a week or even 2 before a vote where there's members who are gonna change and then there's 2 big, there's a lot of big items on there that are gonna change, so I always get nervous.
So maybe it'd be better to have it after the 10th.
Well, we still have to do regular business.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
you know,
still
Yeah.
treasurer's report, there's still,
Right.
you know,
You know,
like we had the
have to
personnel.
run a
report
school
today.
district.
Yeah.
I move the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second,
No, I'm gonna ask for any thoughts or anything. Chaz, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jamie?
yes.
Yes.
Here, yes.
7 yes.
There, yes.
Right.
Joe, thanks for being with us tonight.
Yes, ma'am. It's a pleasure.
Get feedback.
See you later. Bye-bye.
No, I don't.